Jerry's grandmother, Molly Israel, and a friend of my mother's, Mrs. Weiser, were friends in Cleveland, Ohio, when they were teenagers, and they both migrated to Portland and both got married here in Portland. And they were fast friends, and after Jerry and I were born, I was 2 and he was 3.5, they decided that we would be matched for marriage. Now, Jerry knew when he was a young teenager. I never knew until I was in college. And we were playmates until we were about 12, and then I decided I really didn't like playing with him anymore. And that ended that relationship. But when I got off to college, he contacted me again, and I thought he improved immensely.
Well, to back up a little bit, why she didn't like me is that I used to take her to Oaks Park and take her on the rides. And one ride she did not like was the whip, which jerked her around. She told her mother, "That's it, no more. Not going to do that anymore." And when I called her in college there, I said, "I'd like to come over and see you." And she said, "Okay." So I went over and we had a great start of a relationship.
First of all, he was very good looking. He was very handsome. He had wonderful manners, and he was never pushy. He knew where I was coming from, and he was willing to give me the space to think it through.
So I asked her to marry me one night at the house, and she didn't know what to say. I said, "Well, I'm going to take you in and wake your dad up." And so we went into the bedroom. I knocked on the door, and he said, "Yes, come in." And I said, "Dad, I want to marry Delores." "Well, it's about time." Well, I can't remember if a war was on then or not, but it was very interesting that year because that was the Oregon Centennial. So every man in Portland had to have a beard, whether they worked or not. And you had to, if you walked through the downtown area, you didn't have a beard on, they'd throw you in jail, right on the street. So I had a beard all summer long, and I only kissed her at the end of the summer because she got itches from the beard.
I was very glad when that law was over with.
But it was a fun because I used to work at the Journal building on Waterfront, and at the end of the shift I'd have to walk up to the Oregonian building and set up the night office. So that's where they got you, walking up the street there and you didn't have a beard on. But it was fun. It really
Every
was
once
fun.
in a while he would shave it.
So I could kiss her.
So we could just be friends again. And that's when he ended up in jail because the next day he didn't have a beard.
Okay, we lived in an apartment when we got married, and I loved it. It was great. Her dad would come over and have dinner with us. He was retired, of course, and we didn't live far from her parents, so we'd get together. It was great. We lived in the apartment, I can't remember how many years, until we got our...
I was pregnant, and my father became very ill, and my mother couldn't take care of him anymore. So we moved into the home that I was raised in, with my parents. And eventually I had our child, Deborah, and my father passed away when she was 6 months old. So at that point, my mother had never really worked. She had, she grew up in a different time where women didn't work. And so Jerry and I bought my childhood home, and we became a 3-generation family.
Oh, my mother-in-law was a superb person. I mean, she loved to bake. She took care of the house until she couldn't. She was always baking. I'd come home from work, and I'd come in, walking in, and oh, something smelled so good. I'd look, and I'd step on the floor, crunch, 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 and she dropped powder and things on the floor because she couldn't.
She was in a walker.
Walker.
With that.
But she was great. She'd make dinners for us, and when the grandkids, Michael knew her. When the grandkids came along, she loved them, and we all got along so good.
Our children always said that they were so lucky to grow up in a 3-generation family. I think it was just something that Nana Molly and Mrs. Weiser decided it should be done to carry on a tradition. And to tell you the truth, we've been married 59 years, and every night in my prayers I thank Nana Molly for making such a wonderful decision for me.